Welcome to the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Tuesday, August 29th. This is Gina McGuire. Over the next couple of days, we will continue to have impacts to the Great Basin from an increase in lightning. Today, lightning strikes will likely increase more significantly than what we saw yesterday across Idaho into northern Nevada and still continue in isolated to widely scattered fashion over southern and eastern areas of the Great Basin. There are also some lightning strikes this morning already across Idaho. By Wednesday looks to be the bigger day where thunderstorm really increases over the rest of Idaho into Wyoming and continues over the northern half of the Great Basin, with lightning coverage increasing over southern areas as well. However, these thunderstorms will likely be trending wetter. Also, wind will increase along the Sierra Front into northwest Nevada on Wednesday, and after very hot temperatures and the return of lightning, we'll likely see a significant impact on any existing incidents and the likelihood of holdovers. By Thursday, we start to dry out over the western half of the Great Basin, with still some wetter thunderstorms continuing in the east. Over the last 24 hours, we saw very isolated lightning activity, mostly concentrated yesterday over southwest Idaho into far northern Nevada, with a few isolated strikes over the southern areas. This lightning this morning over the central Idaho mountains will likely increase and move northeast, and again has been occurring over the last few hours. Looking at the precipitation totals on the left, you can see only very light amounts of precipitation reported. Fire activity yesterday was light across the Great Basin, with 15 new fires reported and 2 new large fires. Looking at the last 1 to 4 weeks, you can see over the last 7 days and the last 30 days really about similar precipitation patterns, being very spotty associated with thunderstorm activity, mainly in the higher elevations, but this precipitation is below normal for what we would normally see this time of year, especially as you move further north into Idaho. How this is reflected in our ERC conditions. ERCs are still above the 90th or 80th percentile over really all of Idaho into northern Nevada and even over northwest Utah, where drier conditions have persisted. You can see from the graphs on the right the significant increase in ERCs as that line trends up towards historical records again for the time of year for Idaho and well above normal for northern Utah. If we look at the 10-hour fuel moisture, again more representative of our finer fuels, very dry conditions really in all areas of the Great Basin. Even 100-hour fuel moistures have been trending downward with the very hot and dry weather we saw recently and are below the 5th percentile over parts of western Utah into much of Nevada and into southern Idaho. The satellite loop from this morning shows strong high pressure still dominating the central areas of the Great Basin, keeping very warm temperatures in place. However, the moisture rotating around is evident in the clouds over northern Nevada up into Idaho, and again there have been isolated thunderstorms over central Idaho early this morning. As this trough of low pressure off the west coast moves eastward, we will see eventually an increase in winds and drier conditions push eastward across the Great Basin as we move later in the week. Now, if we look at conditions today, again, we are continuing to high risk the lightning across much of the northern half of the Great Basin as those thunderstorms increase in coverage today, and the moisture increases as well and moves eastward. Further south, we will see some moistening of the fuels again over southern areas of the Great Basin as thunderstorms continue with increasing moisture this week. The picture on the left shows where we are expecting those showers and thunderstorms. Today up across Idaho, we'll likely see the main lightning this morning, with possibly decreasing coverage as we go through the afternoon, but coverage will be increasing over Nevada and Utah. The image on the right shows the wind flow for today, again mainly depicting the outflow winds with the thunderstorms in these areas of orange and purple. Outside of thunderstorm activity, winds will be light to moderate. As we move into Wednesday, we see some drier air move into the far western side of the Great Basin. There may be some thunderstorms during the overnight hours tonight into Wednesday morning, with the drier air moving in by the afternoon over western Nevada. So again, we are highlighting the lightning generally over Idaho, Wyoming, and into the northern half of Nevada and Utah, with breezier conditions with lower humidity by the afternoon over the Sierra Front into western Nevada. You can see the image on the left, how those thunderstorms start to shift eastward a little bit towards the afternoon and will increase really over the eastern two-thirds of the area. You can see the winds on the right increasing over the Sierra Front into northwest Nevada with gusts between 30 and 35 miles per hour, and then the gusty outflow winds up across Idaho and northern Utah. By Thursday, that drier air starts to push a little bit further east, with really the western half of the Great Basin seeing much drier conditions, and still some wetter thunderstorms ongoing across eastern areas. We are not issuing any high risk for Thursday, as we should see the fuels start to moisten up in areas where we see thunderstorms over the eastern half of the area. Looking at Thursday, you can see how those thunderstorms shift further east, and again the wind flow is generally light with the exception of gusty outflow winds across Utah. However, northwest winds, as that drier air moves in across Idaho, might start to increase over southern Idaho. Therefore, we will need to watch that as relative humidity will also be decreasing. Overall forecast amount of precipitation will generally be tied to the thunderstorms, with the better chances of wetting rains as we go towards Wednesday and Thursday over really southern and eastern areas of the Great Basin, but we will see spotty areas of precipitation further west. As we go into Friday, we see a strong ridge of high pressure once again redevelop over the west with much drier air pushing now across really most areas of the Great Basin. The only areas on Friday that may see a few isolated thunderstorms still would be far eastern and southeast Utah. Otherwise, dry conditions move in along with increasing temperatures. By the holiday weekend, we will see very strong high pressure and again temperatures reaching the upper 90s to even over 100 degrees over parts of Idaho, northern Utah, and back into Nevada. And these temperatures would be near records once again for the time of year. Otherwise, very dry conditions. With the hot and dry weather returning, this will increase the likelihood of holdovers as we go through the holiday, along with the potential for human starts as that dryness really takes hold. By Sunday, similar conditions with very hot temperatures and dry weather across the Great Basin. As we move into early next week, we start to see a return of moisture possibly over the Arizona Strip, maybe even into parts of the Central Sierra, with really largely still dry conditions across the region. Overall forecast amounts of precipitation in the 7-day really are accounted for in the first 3 days as we see that drier air move in. As we look towards the first to early part of the second week of September, very warm conditions expected in the west with near normal to below normal precipitation in most areas. That concludes our briefing for today. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us. Thank you for listening.